Good afternoon and welcome to Leighton's Loft. Thanks for joining us here Wednesday, June 2nd. What's up, Greg, Bill, James, Nick, Jeff G, Tom, and the rest of the gang? Appreciate you joining us for today. We'll kick back for the next hour or so, talk about all things hobbying. If I'm not mistaken, Lou, we have Mike D joining us about 5 today.
Yes, he's coming in around 5 o'clock. We got him all set up. He's very confident of his technical expertise here, so we should be good.
Excellent. So we have interesting guests at 5 o'clock today as well. That always makes for a more fun show. What's up, Rocco? Thanks for tuning in, Jeremy.
Chef's
hey,
here.
Chef. Hope all is well out there in Minnesota. Got a good one for today. I know we were talking about it last week. I'm not exactly sure where things were, but I know we were alluding to the National making some sort of big announcement.
Yeah.
They have done that. They've announced that as of now, right, anything could change. But as of now, the National Sports Collectors Convention, Chicago style, Chicago edition, is going to be going off at the end of July, early August, as expected. I was in touch with David Gelfman, who runs the Case Break Pavilion over the last 24 hours or so, kind of getting the lay of the land there. So there's a lot going on, across the board.
Was this the original week, or was it a week earlier? Before?
No, it's the original. It's the original.
That's the original week. Okay, excellent.
Hey,
Hi,
what's shaking, Daniel? What's going on, Orlando? And so, a lot of folks have asked me questions, Lou, for example. Hey, is there going to be, guidelines or certain, max people allowed in? I said, your guess is as good as mine. At this point, we're certainly going to try to be, as safe as we can. We're going to try to put on, a fun week.
Yeah.
Obviously for the folks that are there live, as well as the folks that are not there live, already corresponding with a few folks like Chris Coe and others that are going to be there in person. So we're going to have, a nice, hopefully a couple, early happy hours or dinners.
Yeah.
It should be a good time. Hey, what's up, Jim? Looking forward to seeing you out in Chicago. Hopefully you're going to make it out there as well, Chef.
All right, Todd's got a good question. Do you like Chicago style pizza or hot dogs?
I think for a change of pace, it's cool. I can't say I'm a deep dish pizza guy because I'm not. I like Vezzo pizza in the city, as well as any other like New York style thin pizza. That's kind of my thing. But in terms of hot dogs, I remember several years ago when I was a little bit younger. We threw back a few, and it was like 2-3 in the morning, and the cabbie, I think we ended up at a hot dog place, and this is a hot dog. Certainly some fun times out there. Looking forward to it again. This summer. What's up, Melch? Hey, Chris. What's going on, Jeff G? What's up, Bri? So, in terms of the National and, my first, I guess, group of tips, we put a blog out a couple of years ago at this point, right? The National was canceled last year, Lou. And so at this point, the blog would have been 2 years ago on our blog at blog.justcollect.com, where you can not only read about fun things like tips for the National, but also read about hundreds of collections that we bought through the years and some of the unique stories behind them. And so one of the, I guess, benefits of it raining for nearly 52 straight hours on vacation when you're only on vacation for about 72 this past weekend in Ocean City was, we did everything with Kraz, for Kraz, but at some point we were basically breaking, and Julie and I explained to Crosby that there's a thing called outlets and that daddy needs underwear, amongst other things, as new sneakers, is why I'm bringing up the National. And Atlantic City has some decent outlets. So we were staying in Ocean City, which isn't that far. And I was telling the guy I played tennis with us this morning, and I just saw that my lovely wife, Julie, just called. So if you're listening, honey, I love you. But I outsmarted you this weekend. So, Dougie, what I did was when we started to go shopping, it's only the three of us, I decided to take Crosby on the front end for the first few stores because we were kind of splitting up. My thinking, and of course I didn't say this to Julie, was for the first little bit of it, Crosby's going to think it's an adventure, right? It's going to be fun. But at some point, that's going to wear off.
Right.
And he's going to want to know when we're doing something fun next. And I didn't really want to be part of that. I wanted to be part of the front end of it.
So you were gaming the system. Yeah, you were gaming the whole thing.
I would say I was strategic.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I like to listen. I choose my words carefully. Remember, my wife's an attorney.
Yeah.
So whether it be she's listening now or later, this can all come back to haunt me.
Yeah, well, I think it's cute that you think your wife didn't know what was going on.
See, she may not have, because honestly, we were so beat down by the rain. And when I say beat down,
yeah,
I mean, I had to purchase easily, I don't know, the jacket cost 60, the hat was 25, broken umbrellas 25. I mean, these are things I bought just so I could walk on the boardwalk and not, complain.
Yep.
When I say walk on the boardwalk, understand that we didn't like just pack it in and stay in the hotel. We did stuff on the boardwalk, meaning the escape room or like the mirror maze with Kraz or whatever the other, we got various forms of ice cream and ices, but once again, all on the boardwalk. Did you go away this weekend?
I did not. I was moving.
Oh, all right. Well, hopefully the rain wasn't too bad for your move. But it was pretty bad down there. And so once Sunday, like afternoon came around, we had some plans in the evening with one of Julie's friends, former coworkers. She's got a young daughter. We thought Crosby would like that. We basically tried to get away. And, they have an Adidas outlet there. They have a Nike outlet. So I'm not kidding. The only two outlets that had a line to get into the store because they were limiting people was Nike and Adidas.
Oh, God.
So fast forward 3 pairs of sneakers later. I now have 3 pairs of new sneakers. One of them is earmarked for the National. I'm not going to wear them till like a week before to break them in. But I'm now prepared. And so kind of getting back to the National, that's one of my first big tips is whether it be you come for 2 days or 4 days or you stay all week and you walk 37-something miles that I walked 2 years ago at the National. It's really important to have comfortable shoes or you're just going to find that your knees are barking or your feet are screaming at you. And, you're going to want to take a break because at the end of the day, there's only a handful of booths at the show. They're going to have carpet. And even if they have carpet, it's not necessarily for the entire booth. Sometimes it's like carpet behind the booth.
Right.
So I would say number one thing, what's up, David? What's going on, Nick? What's up, Jim? Number one thing is to have comfortable shoes/sneakers. And then Chris was asking me, I think yesterday in regards to cash. So here's the deal. Generally, people don't take credit card.
Mm-hmm.
A fair amount of people are going to take PayPal through like that on-phone device, or to be fair, you could just send it from your app, I'm sure. But I would say that for certainty, everyone will take cash. And I've had people before be, if you will, not as flexible on price when you're paying via PayPal or via company check versus cash. So once again, if you're going to the National with whether it be a want list of 3 or 4 items or a want list of 30 or 40 items, having the resources at your at your fingertips will give you the ability to get these better deals.
Right.
And I can assure you that, especially that first day as a quote unquote dealer, as someone who's walking around and, I do have my strategy, which we talk about on the show. It's kind of fun. I'm very efficient with not just, my time at the booth, but if someone, for example, I'm making it up, doesn't have exact change, I'll literally write down their booth, like you owe it to me later and I'll come back.
Yeah.
Well, because think about it, right? You're chuckling and I know it's kind of funny, but if I had that happen to me 7 times on 7 different buying occurrences on the first day, and that wastes 20 minutes, meaning 3 minutes, per occurrence, I'm trying to, listen, I enjoy it very much, but you're talking about gaming the system. Well, I try to get the most out of it, that I can. And one of the ways to do that is to be efficient with your time and to be well prepared.
Let me ask you this, because you were talking about there's a cash price for things, which helps you with the negotiating a little bit. Do the prices get a little bit more flexible as you get later into the show, as you get towards the end of the show?
Great question, Lou. And I would say that undoubtedly back in the day being pre-internet or early days of the internet, absolutely. But I would say there's a very common occurrence, and it happens not just on the Sunday of the National, meaning the last day, but almost on every day. Well, hey, I can just sell it on eBay for such and such.
Yeah.
Sure. Not to say that it's easy, that it's fun, that you don't have to pay fees, that someone can return it, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, you'll certainly have a fair amount of people say that to you. And so, I know some people are going to go there as a collector with like their short list of their white whales. For me as a dealer, I am looking for things for myself. I'm looking for the things for Vintage Breaks and for Just Collect. But then also there's business opportunities that come about because of people that you only see once a year. And so, generally I'm kind of careful with, my time and how I go about the week. And so that first 24-hour period, I really try to keep the shaking hands and kissing babies part of it to a minimum, knowing that I'll be there for the week.
Right.
And I try to be as efficient as I possibly can, walking around and buying and, making note of what I bought so I don't forget at the end of the day.
Yeah, before eBay and before the internet and social media, this was the only opportunity they had to get some of these collectibles out in front of a large market, especially a qualified market. But that market is there all the time now, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, very much has changed. Lou, Greg is asking about Venmo, and I'm sure that there's other, payment services that we're missing. My guess is that folks are going to be taking a variety of different payments. However, first and foremost, cash is king. I do think that a large majority will take PayPal, whether it be through the app or through that handheld device on your phone. But one of the things that can be heartbreaking, both as a collector, dealer, investor, wherever you place yourself, whether it be in one or several of those categories, is to wow, I ran out of cash on the first day of the National. I really want to buy this item, and the guy will only take cash. You can't be mad at the person. You can't be mad at the company.
Right.
So just know that ahead of time. And I would also say this is not something that I've added, or not something I've mentioned in the past, but I will add to our blog for this National, is bringing cards in your collection that you're, kind of no longer keen on keeping. Not to say you have to bring them to sell, but I think trade bait is a wonderful thing. You could be at someone's booth and you could be at $500 to $1,500 apart on a deal for a card or a group of cards or a set, that you really want. And you're like, I don't really want to give you any more cash. Oh, I have this card that's worth $750.
Yeah.
And so my point is that, on top of bringing your cash, on top of having comfortable shoes, try to bring a couple dozen cards. Graded is always better, just easier and more liquid. So that way you have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to deal making.
Benson asks, what's your ratio of being a buyer versus seller while at the Nationals?
Sure. Great question, Melch. So, it's funny in terms of selling at the National, we sell, breaks right through Vintage Breaks for the week. As you mentioned, Melch, we also sell at our booth at Just Collect. And depending on the year, sometimes national retail sales can be very strong. Other times not as much. But I would tell you that on the sales side, I go in with very low expectations because I generally can't control that. For Vintage Breaks, it's been actually 2 years since we've had a National. I have a little bit of an idea of what to expect. I think it's going to be very busy at the convention. I think it'll be busy online. And so I'm excited for that. But, truth be told, the main reason why I like to go to the National is because I like to see people in person and I like to buy. And when you're someone who does this professionally, like myself, for Vintage Breaks and for Just Collect, and then also as a collector, / long-term investor, man, it's like being a kid in a really big candy store that is only open once a year. And in this case, or in this particular case, it's only open every other year, meaning it has not been open since 2 years ago. And that's really the way I look at it. So, I'll be out.
Do you think there's a pent-up market without the National last year? Do you think there's going to be some added energy because everyone missed? But again, the online market is still there, right?
Yeah, I think the added energy will come from, let's say, and I'm making up, I don't know the pool, but let's just say the pool of possible collectors that have never been to the National is 50,000. Mm-hmm. And normally every year at the National, there's 2% of those people go for the first time. I think 8% might go this year, meaning 4 times the amount of people that would normally go for the first time. I think you're going to have a lot of first timers going this year, which is awesome.
Tyler says he's trying not to buy so much in anticipation for these bigger shows coming up, and I'm finding it difficult to be patient.
It is tough, Tyler, but I would say you're going to want your resources when it comes to the National. When that first hour unfolds, whether it be from the standpoint of a collector, a dealer, investor, any and all of those three, I will tell you that even from the standpoint of someone who is well financed and has good resource, if I buy a deal in the first hour for $38,000, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to look to see how much cash I have left. What do I have to do to get more cash if I need it? So on and so forth. And so, it's kind of a race in that regard, meaning like walking around and, there's the quote unquote low hanging fruit of, maybe being able to buy something and sell it right away for a flip. I know guys that just do that the whole show. That's not really my MO. I'm more buying for the long term. But, if something looks apparent to buy it and you can sell it quickly, sure. But I don't generally sell things quick.
Is there still a reasonable range in pricing where that you can actually find some value? Because it would seem like with all the social media and all the pricing that's out there, everyone would be more or less on the same page.
Well, you would think so, but it's not the case. And what I mean is there's just so many dealers, something's going to crack.
Yeah.
Meaning someone, some item, something, and you're going to hear about, oh, wow, that guy just sold his whole booth. Or did you hear about that fine that just walked in? And like I said, maybe someone spent all their cash in the first, day of the show, and now they're kind of in the sell mode. So it's basically a live, baseball card exchange, and shout out to Steve, floor for the week in the sense of a stock market, unlike any other week of the year, because there's really no other convention in terms of sports cards that lasts a week. And when I say it lasts a week, we arrive generally on Monday. We leave on Sunday. The National, I believe, is either open. I think it's open for the first time to the public, like VIP, sneak peek, all that kind of stuff on Wednesday. But Tuesday is a very big dealer day. And I believe we set up for vintage breaks in the Case Break Pavilion on Monday night / Monday afternoon, if they allow us, meaning the hours and such. And so by Tuesday, we're humming already. We're setting up the Just Collect booth. The vintage breaks booth is already hopefully ready to go. I already know of at least 2 appointments I'll have in the Chicago area before the National starts officially on Tuesday. So it's going to be a very busy week.
Yeah. But exciting, right?
Yes.
And each dealer booth, I imagine, is in a different place in terms of whether they need liquidity or whether they're taking in inventory. Some people are looking for cash. Some people are looking for inventory, and that's going to affect the prices on a dealer-to-dealer basis, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's a little bit of a game of poker, right? If someone comes up to your booth and they say, do you have any flexibility in prices? You might give them, one bit of information. If they say they want to buy everything, they might, get another bit of information from you. But my point is I would never start off by saying that. I might ask just, hey, do you have any flexibility? Yeah. Sometimes people kind of race to the bottom. Hey, I'll give you 60% off. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I might have bought it all at 30% off, making it up a little bit. Yeah. And so, I'll make notes. Hey, I want to go back to this booth. Got really good stuff, but prices are just so. So, I'll have my little notebook and I'll have my backpack and have my my resources ready to go, for the show. And I encourage everyone to do the same.
Excellent. I'm sure everyone's excited. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. So look for that, article with some additional tips, some of the things that we just discussed and more coming out in our blog at blog.justcollect.com. Without further ado, I wanted to mention the 7 prizes we'll be giving away during today's Leighton's Loft show. The only way to qualify to win one of these 7 prizes is to be tuned in on Leighton's Loft show on Facebook. And the 7 prizes are as follows, Dougie. $50 break credit, 3rd year Wayne Gretzky.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hold it up.
Yeah, hold up. Yep.
There we go. 1962 Topps baseball set break spot, and then 4 1973 Topps baseball set break spots. 7 prizes in all for just tuning in. So if you're listening to this in the podcast universe on your favorite platform, and you're having a good old time, that's fantastic. Give us the good old thumbs up and subscribe. However, if you want to win one of 7 prizes that we give away each and every week here on Leighton's Loft, you have to tune in 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays and interact with us. Say hi, talk about something you bought in the hobby, traded for, or a card show you're looking forward to, like the National.
All right, David's looking for a foursome, golf partners. So,
oh, in Chicago?
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I won't have time to golf. I'm hoping to have time to go to Cubs game, but I definitely want to make sure I make time for dinners and happy hours and lunches across the street at Gibson's.
Are the Cubs in town that week?
I didn't look yet, but I'm hoping so.
Well, let's find out.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Andy? So before we open up this 2020 Chronicles football value pack, I wanted to check this product out, so I thought it'd be fun to open up a pack and offer a bounty if we hit something fun. The NBA playoffs have got very interesting. The Celtics are not only now gone, but they are sans Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens, when some people thought he should be out, is now up.
Promoted.
Yes. And so, I myself as a Celtic fan have no problem with really either guy. From what I can hear with Danny Ainge, it was really a matter of family. And, listen, the guy's won rings, both as a player and as management. And, he's still a fairly young gentleman. And, he may come back to the sport. Who knows?
But he had health issues as well. So,
yeah. So it seems though, it seems as though that was really the rationale behind him moving on. The Brad Stevens thing is really surprising. It goes to show you that he really, I guess, had been burnt out by coaching. I realize that it's not easy for folks to sympathize with an NBA coach making millions of dollars or an NBA player making a lot of money. But I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think that the bubble last year, forget about the champion and arguing with it. I'm not saying that.
Yep.
I think it took a lot of everything out of, folks in the NBA, from management to the players to the coaches, to some extent the fans as well, not maybe enjoying it as much.
What do you think is more useless in the NBA these days, the coach or the GM? I mean, it's all a super team league. It's men's softball is what it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it depends on the team. For example, if it's the New York Knicks, Tom Thibodeau had an incredible impact on the Knicks as a team and his organization. So I would say in that case, absolutely, the coach had a big impact. I can't think of a coach off the top of my head that I'm going to, throw under the bus, but there's definitely some coaches, the way you described, Lou, it's more of a softball league where they just kind of show up and, guys are going to do their thing regardless.
Yeah, I mean, there's teams can improve with good coaching, good GM work, but the championships are reserved for the super teams, right? I mean, it's just hard to beat super teams in the NBA these days.
Yeah, I mean, from the looks of it, I know I don't want to break Sam's heart over there that the Bucks are going to the finals, but I mean, I got to tell you, the Durantula, unless he gets hurt, I mean, the guy, he's just the best player on the floor right now in the NBA, not just for the Nets. In the NBA.
He's got knobby knees.
What did you say?
He's got knobby knees.
Well, he may, and you may pull a Tanya Harding on him. And if you do, we heard it here, first in terms of, video and audio evidence. I will not stand in the way as they come for you, Sam. That being said, the Brad Stevens move surprised me because he's still fairly young. And I think although that's great, and was okay for coaching. Hopefully he has some sort of plan where, there's a reason why they bumped him up, because if it's just because of a vacancy, the whole thing seems very awkward to me. But we shall see what kind of coach.
It is very awkward.
Are they going to go after a young guy? Are they going to go after an experienced guy? Is that experienced guy going to be reporting to a guy like Brad Stevens? I don't know. It's very funky.
Two interesting things that we found out today is that this has been a discussion. This did not happen since the loss to the Nets. This has been a discussion for some time. And during the press conference today, the owners of the Celtics called it a retirement of Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge did not use the term retirement, which I thought was interesting.
I didn't catch the press conference, but I'm sure that in both cases, the Celtics were trying to save face. And Danny Ainge is like, well, I didn't say I was retiring. Just said I'm not doing this job anymore.
And they were very careful to say that it was Danny Ainge's decision, that they tried to talk him into staying. It was they were trying to get away from the concept that it was a firing of any sort or manner. They were very careful about wording that way.
Yeah. So moving on from Celtics news, the Lakers are one game away from not only being eliminated, Dougie, but more so, like, where does it leave LeBron? And I know, Lou, you're not a big NBA guy.
But everyone's talking about LeBron last night. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And now what's interesting is AD didn't play. Doesn't even matter. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It just doesn't matter. They're not going to remember in 10 years from now. Well, AD didn't play, game 5. And so LeBron gets a pass. That's not how it's going to go, Lou.
No, LeBron's not getting a pass. And if this turns out to be his first round exit, that's going to be a big hit to his legacy, which LeBron is very conscious of.
Absolutely. So, I didn't catch much of the game. I was tied up and I saw LeBron exit early. Was that because of injury, Dougie,
No.
or you're not sure?
No,
Okay.
He walked off.
It was just he was out. He was cooked.
He was checked out.
Yep.
Wow. So I do believe that, and I'm going to read more about it tonight, when I have a few minutes free time. I do believe we're seeing something happen right now, whereas just 12 months ago, LeBron was like, the apple of everyone's eye.
Yeah.
And literally you could be one game away from a first round elimination. And by the way, the Suns are no slouch. So it's not like he's losing to a bad team or a crappy team. Like, all kidding aside, the Suns should win the series based on the seeding and the record. Doesn't even matter still. Just so interesting to me what LeBron goes through as a player.
Very telling as a personality that you just leave the court. It's just amazing to me. The professional athlete leaves the field, before the game's over.
Absolutely. Hey, Michael, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it.
David says, Melch says, could you VB do a live stream from the floor, a tour at the National for maybe 20 to 30 minutes? People would love to see it.
Absolutely. So, Melch, one of the things I'm going to do on Tuesday this year of the National, at some point early on, I take a video before, all the bedlam ensues. I like to get some, video and photos of the floor before it's all set up. And then I'm going to do, I don't know if I'll do a 20 to 30 minutes, but I'm going to do a few different, like 5 to 10 minute ones where I'll not only, say hi to maybe a buddy, at the show or a fellow auction house, whatever the case may be. But I'm also going to show my pickups live as they, basically unfold. I think that'll be really fun. And I think, Melch, you're right. It would be a really great way to kind of get a bird's eye view of what's going on at the National for those that can't attend. I'm going to bust open this Chronicles football here.
Yeah, I'm not available to coach the Celtics. I might be available to coach the Celtics.
I would
money's
be,
pretty good.
They would throw me in the bathroom in about 2 minutes.
Yep.
All right, so let's see what we got here. Switch the eyeball, and then we got Mike joining us in just a few.
Yeah, Mike's here whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. So, Lou, I switched over the eyeball so we can go through the pack together.
There you go.
Heard this is a really fun break, Sam, the Chronicles football.
Oh, that is nice. I like that layout.
Sam, what do you think about the Bucks' chances against the Nets?
Honestly, I feel very good. I don't think anyone on the Nets can guard, to be honest.
So, based on what Sam's saying, my guess is I'm going to bet against because I'm not sure if Sam's an experienced bettor. But all kidding aside, Sam feels good about the Bucks, but admittedly, he's a Bucks fan.
That's true. I'm biased.
So he is biased.
I am not, and I like the Bucks.
You like the Bucks?
I do.
Really?
I do.
You heard it here first. Sam and Dougie are on the Bucks for round 2. I didn't look at the matchups. Someone may not be able to guard Giannis, but Giannis can't score a hunch. And didn't they lose the starting point guard for the Bucks?
Holiday?
No. What's his name? Vincenzo or
Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah. I think isn't he gone or didn't he get hurt?
I will verify right now.
We got a verification process happening. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, rookie. Matt Ryan. Justin Jefferson, rookie. This has been a good pack so far.
Very nice, yeah.
Marshall Faulk, Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. Bit of a whiner, but a Hall of Famer.
Yep. Brandon Ayuk, rookie. Van Jefferson, rookie. J.K. Dobbins, rookie. I love this Panini Prism Black and these.
That's very nice. Yeah,
these are gorgeous cards, Lou.
I like the graphics overall. It's just a nicely designed set. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
T. Higgins, rookie. Gabriel Davis, some sort of insert rookie for the Bills. Denzel Mims from the Jets. Nice. Hang on to that. Jalen Reagan, rookie for the Eagles.
By the way, J5 and I were talking before the show, and we think you should grow a beard until the Jets win their next game.
Game or Super Bowl?
Game.
All right. Well, game is reasonable.
A game beard. Yeah.
Super Bowl is going to be pretty filthy. Like I might,
No.
I might have some problems.
No.
Next is Henry Chin, rookie. And lastly, it looks like we got a Justin Herbert. Looking to see what brand this is. Rookie. This is a nice card.
Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Yeah. No, they did a nice job with this set.
Yeah, Logan, hope you're okay. Did Logan go in? He's in the doctor's office waiting. So,
well, feel
we're with you, buddy.
better, Logan.
Yep.
So I know we have Mike ready to go, so we're going to bring him in just a minute. Effectively, rained all weekend down at the shore, but Crosby and Julie were troopers, so it got better on Monday. We ended up staying most of the day. Really glad that we did. And, it was really just, nice bonding with the family. And even though it rained a lot, we did all sorts of stuff maybe we would normally do, like the escape room, even though Crosby got a little scared at the end. He asked, said, Daddy, what happens if we don't escape? And at first I joked and said, something I shouldn't have said because I realized he was a little bit nervous about it. And then I said, no, it's, nothing happens. And then there was just something to do with like the lights and the sounds kind of coming out of the wall. Then at one point he said, can we get out of here? And I showed him we could open the door. It didn't matter. Like something was not as enjoyable for him as a young kid, even though we did do it with dragons and stuff. But we did a mirror maze several times. He thought it was hysterical when I would walk into the mirror wall. So we had all sorts of fun that we wouldn't normally do if it wasn't raining at the shore. So happy to be back in the seat today for the Loft, and looking forward to welcoming Mike to the fold if you got him available.
All right, Mike's here. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hello, Lynn. Hello, Luke. Good to be on here. Thank you.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, perfect. Well, there we go.
Excellent. How was your holiday weekend?
It was good. I work for a veteran nonprofit called Student Veterans of America. I'm their vice president of development. So, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, we always have events. We're always doing things. So one of the reasons why I couldn't come on last Wednesday, I was doing another veterans oriented event. So I was speaking there. So, but happy to be here today.
I assume you're a veteran, Mike?
I am. I served a little over 11 years in the Army from 2001 to 2012.
Can you tell us a little bit about your deployments and your history with the Army?
Yeah, I think like most people, and I know we have plenty of veterans in the VB community too, 18 years old, wondering what I'm going to do with myself. My grandparents, both my grandfathers served in World War II. And so, I maybe I'll join the Army and get a little experience, see the world a little bit, and then get some money for college and go back to college. And so I enlisted pre 9/11. So I was already in my first duty station. I was stationed in Germany when 9/11 happened. And, I just thought I was going to be running around the woods with a rifle playing soldier. and then it got like very real as I sat on a berm in Kuwait ready to invade Iraq in 2003. And so I 3 deployments to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan. Between then, I went to college, went to the Virginia Military Institute, became an officer, went back into the Army, and then got out in 2012. Kind of stayed in the military stuff, and after that, I ended up being a security contractor for the Department of Defense. So I trained and advised Kurdish forces in northern Iraq. I trained Palestinian security forces in Jordan, and then I ended up working with the Israelis. And so I lived and worked in Israel for about 3 years before coming to Washington, D.C., kind of for a career change and pivot. So been here ever since, kind of working on the veteran advocacy realm. And so, yeah.
Well, let us join everybody in the chat room here, and thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you for your service and really appreciate you joining us today. Apparently I'm a very poor salesman because they just put a note in front of me that we have a really fun special that started at 4:30, and I did not announce that. So I apologize, Mike, but it's really funny. I'll understand if you have to step away. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So we did this a couple of weeks ago, Lou, and it really resonated with our community in the sense of, Mike, when we run these buy any spot promos, for our big event, obviously we have thousands of entries, and of course we give away a lot of fun stuff. But we've been doing them, intermittently, and depending on when we do them, we've seen nice engagement because we understand that not everyone's necessarily going to have, let's say, $250 to buy into a T206 hit random,
right,
or $175 to get into a 51 Bowman, set break. And so what we're doing today, Mike, and Vintage Breaks gang, is from now, starting really at 4:30 until 7:30, we're running a buy any spot promo. And as the promo name suggests, if you buy any spot at all on the site for as little as $3, you're going to get one entry. If you buy 2 spots, you'll get 2 entries in the promotion, so on and so forth. Well, first place today in our buy any spot promo that ends at 7:30 is going to be a chance to win this T206 Ty Cobb Sovereign Back SGC 1.5. We're going to give away a free spot in our T206 hit random. It's $250 to get in normally, but you'll be able to. Mike, I see you trying to buy a spot. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to be the first. I'm going to be the first vintage breaker live on Leighton's Loft to get into.
Anyway, folks, we're doing this. We thought it was a really fun way to engage the community and give really everyone a chance of any shape, size, or budget, because you really just need $3 or $3.50 is the cheapest spot on the site. And so if you buy any spot at all, you will have one entry into this buy any spot promo that will end at 7:30 tonight, where first place in that promo is going to win a free spot in the $250 to T206 hit random featuring the Ty Cobb, the Tris Speaker, Rube Marquardt, Christy Mathewson, so on and so forth. You buy one entry, you buy one spot, you'll have one entry. You buy 2 spots, you'll have 2 entries, so on and so forth. And for whatever it's worth, Mike, and this is why they were letting me know that I had to announce it now, anyone who actually buys a spot from 4:30 to 5:30, you're actually going to be in one additional promo. I'm going to pull a Hall of Famer from my collection, and we're going to give it away as an additional prize if you end up getting in during the first hour during our loft. If not, you'll still have till 7:30, so not to worry. But I wanted to make that public service announcement, Mike. Thank you for letting me make that.
No problem. If you want to put up another 2020 Topps Chrome Sapphire Formula One, I'll just use that to buy into.
Oh, really? Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Well, sounds good.
That's just my request, but that's awesome.
Speaking of your collecting habits and such, and it's funny because Formula One really couldn't be any further from the things we were chatting about at the Chantilly show at this point just a couple of weeks ago. Why don't you tell the community and share with the folks that are watching Leighton's Loft today a little bit about your collection and the uniqueness of it, if you will.
Yeah, so I think partially because one, my love of history, and then also kind of my military service is I collect baseball cards of players who served in the U.S. military. And so I think a lot of us know that the military and baseball has always had a really long history together, all the way back to the Civil War. It's actually, you can all look it up on Google, but one of the very first photos of a baseball game being played is from the Civil War. And it's a funny little photo. A regiment at Fort Pulaski in New York, it was taking like their formal regimental photo, all the guys lined up. And then in the background was just some soldiers playing baseball. And so it was like one of the first ever photos of baseball. But since the Civil War to today, to the War on Terror, there's always been a connection between baseball and the military, and those who played and those who served. And so I kind of brought a couple examples of what I kind of collect. So this is a T210 Mecha double back of Eddie Grant. Eddie Grant is one of 8 former major leaguers who was killed in the First World War. And Eddie Grant is really actually the only player that actually has baseball cards. And so I think kind of Lou, your inspiration with, your work in the T206 book is the history of all these players, all these non-Hall of Fames, maybe played a couple seasons, but left their mark on the game. And so one of the things I discovered through buying at Vintage Breaks was in one of your 1951 Bowman sets, I drew Lou Brissy. And common, no one's heard of him. He played a couple seasons with the Cleveland Indians. And I just looked him up. I was like, I wonder who this guy was. And it turned out he served in the United States Army in World War II. He was wounded in Italy. An artillery shell shattered his left leg. And he convinced the surgeon not to amputate because he was a minor league ball player and like his life was baseball. And so he recovered and he actually got to play, I think, like 2 seasons with the Indians as a pitcher, and he pitched with a leg brace for those 2 seasons. And he played a couple seasons in minor league ball. And I thought that was really interesting. And that got me down the rabbit hole of like who else served and what was the connection, with baseball in World War II. And we know like Ted Williams, Ted Williams' story and Joe DiMaggio. But there was 599 other former or current major leaguers or future major leaguers that served in World War II. And there was 4,076 minor league players that served in World War II.
Wow.
And so, with the draft, and I'll tell you, most of them were drafted, I think not a lot of them necessarily enlisted or volunteered, but some of them did. But that was an aspect of American life, that despite them playing baseball, they were going to be drafted and they were going to serve. Now, the Army and the military did make considerations for, like all-stars like Joe DiMaggio, that like they weren't going to go serve in combat. They actually played like exhibition games. They traveled around as baseball players playing games. And then also within different divisions and with the theaters of operations, the military created their own baseball leagues. And so a lot of these minor league players, major league players, went enlisted, served, maybe joined their unit's baseball team, and played, and so it was always kind of a facet. But it was just really amazing hearing some of these stories, and also understanding that 3 major league ball players lost their lives, 167 minor league players lost their lives, and to think that within those 176, maybe there was a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer there. There were guys who were going to make it, and it just goes to show as well that Leighton, when I was showing you the cards I purchased there at the Chantilly show, was that those are all players that served and were wounded in the Second World War, which there was a good many, and there was 3 future Hall of Famers. Yogi Berra served in the United States Navy. He was on a rocket ship that was firing rockets on Normandy Beach, on Omaha Beach, supporting the invasion, and he was wounded in his right hand from shrapnel from a German shore battery. And to think that like a ball player being wounded in his his right hand, and there's Yogi Berra, to go back and play in the Yankees and have a Hall of Fame career is pretty crazy. Same thing. Warren Spahn was a combat engineer. He was wounded, rebuilding the Ludendorff Bridge over the Rhine as the Allies pushed into Germany. Hoyt Wilhelm fought and was wounded in the Battle of the Bulge, and he played with shrapnel in his lower back for his entire career.
Wow.
And so it's just these amazing stories, and something for a veteran, and even having kind of my those struggles that veterans have transitioning, including my struggles. These are kind of inspirational stories. it's really made a connection with me that this is no different than 70 years ago with guys who were serving the Second World War and their transition, and just picking up where they left off almost, or going on to the next chapter. And so, yeah, as you can tell, a little bit of passion, a little bit of interest in this. So as I ramble on.
It's fascinating. I imagine that time away for the ball players must have been, first of all, it changed everybody. Obviously, World War II changed everybody. They had their time away. I've been talking about, I do a lot of prospect reporting, and I've been trying to get a feel from people on how the year off last year with 2020 affects development. A ball player goes away for 3 or 4 years, and by the way, goes to war for 3 or 4 years. Must have been a very difficult transition for them to come back and play.
Yeah, you can only imagine, what could have been for a lot of those players if that interrupted. But, at the same point, too, Warren Spahn, at the end of his career, an interviewer asked him, hey, you lost 3 seasons of ball playing, from military service, how do you think that really affected you? And he said, maybe I wouldn't have been here last as long as I did without my military service, without taking that discipline and experience and strength that I gained from military service and applying it to the ball game. But I mean, it's interesting because past World War II, Pete Rose and Johnny Bench both served in the Army Reserves in the 60s when they were coming up, partially because it got them out of the draft, because players weren't necessarily exempt from it still then. But you still had plenty of guys. I think Whitey Ford also had to take a year off or two in the 50s during the Korean War just to go serve his time in the military and come back. Ted Williams did the same thing too. So it is an interesting thing, and all, like I said, it goes all the way to today. Steve Reich, who played, I think, literally a half a dozen games of single A ball for the Baltimore Orioles organization, realized it wasn't for him. He got waived, and he joined the Army, became a helicopter pilot, and unfortunately lost his life in Afghanistan in 2005. And so these stories continue to this day, this connection. And I think I think when it comes to baseball cards, I think it's an interesting piece of Americana that you can hold and have the evidence, the impact of a player, for little or as big as it is. And you can own a piece of that, and you can remember their story and learn their story through it. I think that's unique. I think, with all our professions that we do. Speaking
of impact, who of these players do you think had the biggest impact on the battlefield? Who are some of the standouts in the battlefield aspect?
It's interesting. I've been digging deeper. There's a couple great websites. One of them is Baseball in Wartime. They do a great job researching. So you do have a lot of players that earned Purple Hearts and Silver Stars and Distinguished Service Crosses. I think one of the more highly decorated baseball players, Jerry Coleman from the Yankees. Much like Ted Williams, he was a fighter pilot in the Second World War in the Marine Corps. I think he was awarded either the Bronze or Silver Star for his actions. But then he got called up again for Korea, like Ted Williams. But unlike Ted Williams, he stayed. He didn't go back to the major leagues. He stayed in the Marine Corps, and I think retired as a full-bird colonel. So I think he's had an impact. I mean, once again, all of them had an impact. Military service, especially back in the day, was something that all Americans kind of participated in or had to. Kind of versus kind of the all-volunteer force today, but
excuse me.
I don't know the source of it, and I don't know the veracity of it, but my understanding of Ted Williams' military service was that he didn't need to be drafted. In fact, he could have exempted himself from the draft on a couple of different levels, but decided to go into both theaters despite this.
Yeah, so I know. Yeah, he did volunteer. I mean, and don't get me wrong, a lot of players did enlist volunteer, especially. I think there was added pressure for a lot of the all stars, the public kind of facing.
Sure.
But yeah, Ted Williams he was already a big star, so he became a pilot, but he ended up staying stateside in World War II as an instructor. Bobby Thompson, shot her around the world. He was a bombardier, but he ended up just training. He was only an instructor and stayed stateside, but he said, yeah, I never really talked about my military service because I didn't do anything like the other guys that went and fought. I stayed stateside. But that's an interesting thing about Bobby Thompson, that his impact in baseball. But yeah, he served his country as well.
fascinating, Mike, and really appreciate, how much time you've spent, getting to learn about the historical importance of these ball players. I can't help but think, sitting here and, at first I was going to remark about how many professional athletes, and whether it be it's the NBA or, NFL is a little bit different, but even, of course, Major League Baseball, hey, guys played 3 games in a row and it's an off day. And then all of a sudden, depending on what media market you're in, it becomes a story. And you have guys like Warren Spahn who are coming out and saying, well, I don't necessarily know what detracted from my career, these 3 years of service. I think it made me a better man. And, to think about that kind of thing being done today certainly would be, I think, more of an exception. And so, I really, what to say other than letting you know how I'm feeling. And how I'm feeling is, one, fascinating learning about this from someone who's taken as much time as yourself. But I always like to learn about different angles of collecting and history, both in sports and then outside of sports. 2, very proud that, we can now call each other acquaintances and friends. We've met in person. You've been a part of our community. And I know that you've not only served our country proudly, shout out to my brother-in-law, Tim, who's currently doing so. And of course, the many that are doing so across not just our country, but around the world. And, we've referred back to 1951 Bowman several times in our discussion, whether it be Yogi or whether it be Whitey Ford. And so I think what we're going to do today, just as a special, if you will, and please include Mike D in today's, comments, because that would be terrible if Mike doesn't even have a chance. But, Mike, really, per our discussion and being able to, as an owner in Vintage Breaks, appreciating what I'm hearing and meeting you not just in person, but having you on and offering great content to our community, I thought it'd be a really nice little feather in the cap if we're going to add a special prize today to the Vintage Breaks / Just Collect sponsored Leighton's Loft show. We're going to give away 1 free spot in the 1951 Bowman set break. It's currently $175.
Wow.
We're going to give away a free spot in that break. So not part of the 7 prizes, right? It'll be another random where everyone who's on the list will have a chance to win that. And then I did mention this prior, but I thought it'd be appropriate time to mention this as well. The first 2 names on the list for the free 1991 Desert Shield pack that we're going to open, maybe we'll do it at the National. I haven't quite figured out a time yet. But you and my brother-in-law, Tim, we're going to be, in on that. So anyone else who is either currently serving our country or has served our country in the past will have a chance to win a free spot in that Desert Shield break. All I would ask is that you contact me directly, Leighton@justcollect.com. And, my guess is, we'll probably do it for the National, Mike. Obviously there's going to be more service men and women, whether it be former and current, than spots. But I feel like you and Tim are, Tim's my brother-in-law. He's married to my sister, so he's got an early ticket.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you and I meeting for the first time in person at Chantilly, but I feel like it won't be the last. And look, it's only a few weeks later. You're already, on with us, here, kind of sharing some of your, not just card expertise, but some of your experience as a serviceman, for our country and what you've seen, during both before and now since with your, involvement with your day job. And so I thought it'd be a fun giveaway. We'll say that's courtesy of Mike. Really appreciate you appearing today on our show.
I want to ask Mike one more question. And
please, go ahead.
I apologize, Mike, because I'm asking you blind. You had no preparation for this whatsoever. But I'm curious, if we were going to put a Field of Dreams team together for each branch of the service, who would have the best team?
It's interesting because I kind of looked,
I bet you did.
I'm a little biased because I'm Army, so the Army had a lot of great players. But probably to be a close second would be the Navy. A couple people mentioned like Bob Feller. Bob Feller was in the Navy. You had a lot of good ball players in the Navy. There was always the inter-service rivalry games too, so they would play against each other, and it's a whole nother world. The whole inter-service leagues that they had.
Yeah.
But I know the Army Air Corps had won like the European Theater of Operation, like championship game, the 8th Air Force against, I think it was like, the 7th Corps of the United States Army.
Wow.
So they had, but like, that was another whole thing too. And that's the thing that like some of the veteran players that, in the twilight years are giving these kind of stories. They were like the ringers, like,
yeah,
they once they were identified that they were like in the minor leagues, that they were playing a season in the major leagues, like their commanding officer was like, "You're on the baseball team. I don't care." Like, and like, this is what you're going to contribute. Is we're going to win this game.
Can you imagine going to play a game in Korea and Ted Williams walks out? I mean,
it's kind of unfair. Like, you're a minor leaguer. Like, I'm barely here, and now I got to pitch against Ted Williams. I mean, and I'll show one last thing. So, I've expanded. So I have a 1949 Kira Mishawa Nishizawa. So Japanese.
Oh, wow.
They had their professional league. They had it since like 1872. Their players on the other side of the conflict, they all got drafted and they fought in the Second World War as well. And so I've tracked down a couple of their players that served, and which got me a little bit into understanding vintage Japanese baseball cards,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun too. But I have to just say, this has been really awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I told Leighton at Chantilly, and I want to share it here, that I wouldn't have gone back into baseball card collecting if it wasn't for all of you. I'm a kid of the 80s. I collected baseball cards in the 80s and the junk blacks era, and I didn't think about it until I was maybe 30, 31. And when I was doing kind of like, what's baseball cards like these days? The modern stuff didn't really appeal too much to me. I learned about card breaking, and that didn't really appeal much to me. The people that were card breaking on YouTube, not disparaging them at all, just not my thing. But then I came across you all, and I found this like really awesome, positive, great community, and you all doing some wonderful things. I was like, well, cool. I'm just going to jump on here, see what it's like. And then I got hooked. I mean, I'll blame you, Leighton. I got hooked. I'm like, I'll do one hit random. And I have it to this day. I won a 1954 Topps Javi Kuhn. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And then I'm hooked. I'm like, I got to chase this feeling now. So, so thank you. I mean, this has been great. And to everyone in the community, to James Ector and Chris Coe and all the others. I'm not very active on the chats, but I love sitting and watching and chiming in whenever I got a smart ass comment to make. So yeah.
That's cool. It's funny, Mike, that you mentioned it, in terms of your involvement, because obviously not everyone's been on the Loft with me here and interviewed, for several minutes and talking about such an interesting aspect of not just their collection, but their life, with your service to our country. But you're right. That's what makes, it's a business, right? The legal name is vintagebreaks.com, I think LLC. But the reality of it is, it's the people that make it up, both on, our team side here, locally, VB South and VB West. Then, of course, all of the wonderful members of our community, some of which we've met in person at several conventions over the last several years. But we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we're going to meet many of you, I guess, in just a couple months at the National Sports Collectors Convention in Chicago. Mike, do you think you'll be coming out to the show?
I want to try to. We'll see if I can make it. It's always about timing and work, right? But it would be great. I would really love to.
Well, Mike, I hope that you're able to as well. I'm sure a lot of the folks would like to meet you in person. And, from me and, of course, everyone here locally, but then also, out in the interwebs who are watching, thank you for joining us today. It was wonderful to hear about your journey, both in life and how that kind of interweaved with collecting and how it made you be interested in baseball cards today.
Yeah. No, this has been great. Thank you again. And yeah, it's been wonderful. And shout out to everyone else in the VB community and to the rest of the VB team. I'm really happy, and see you all again, hopefully.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. All right. That was fascinating. Love that.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, when I met him and he was showing me stuff at the show, like I almost at first said to him, like, are you putting me on? I mean, it was just like way too cool. And then, I realized with his background and, listen, we all have things that motivate us for different reasons. But it's fascinating. And I myself, like really, I think, Lou, you did the same. You kind of were startled with how many like minor league ball players ended up serving our country.
You said 4,000, right? Yeah.
I'm going to text them later or ask if I reach out a couple questions. But yeah, I was fascinated.
I was, and then at the end, oh, by the way, I also have some vintage Japanese baseball cards too. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah,
so
that's the whole rabbit hole in and of itself, is Japanese baseball card collecting.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple of cards in my collection that are Japanese related. I have a few Cuban cards as well. But it is, all very cool. And once again, yes, it is courtesy of Vintage Breaks and just collecting with TS Sports, but Mike being such a great guest and us talking about the 51 Bowman set so much, I thought it was going to be a really great thing to do. We're going to give away that 1951 Bowman set spot in an additional giveaway today at the end of the show, which looks, I can't believe it's already 5:30. It felt like today's show went really fast, Lou. But great guest. Appreciate you, getting him on here, making it happen. Everyone joining us today on the Loft. If you ever want to email me direct, you can hit me up at Leighton@justcollect.com. But we're going to have Sam take over and in just a minute give away the 7 prizes plus the free 51 Bowman spot. And don't forget, folks, we are running a super fun promo today. It's a buy any spot promo from now till 7:30. If you buy any spot at all on the site, you'll have a chance to win a free T206 hit random spot. That's $250 value, and a chance to win this T206 Ty Cobb amongst 74 other T206s. It does end at 7:30. If you buy one spot at any break, you'll get one entry. You buy 2 spots, you get 2 entries in today's promotion. It concludes 7:30 Eastern time. Thanks for joining us, folks.